You got a cool voice, man. So having the headphones on, you can really hear your voice.
You know what's so funny? I hate hearing myself talk.
The same.
I feel like
I
that's
don't even like watching myself. I just don't.
I'm gonna take pictures of you and stuff.
But
No, you're good. I think that's a creator thing. I'm not too sure how long have you've been doing this, but this was the exact reason why I started podcasting, because I hated the way I sound and I hated the way I look on camera.
Gotcha.
But at the end of the day, it's like, who cares, right?
It is what it is. It is what it is.
Man, good morning, Marcus. Please, I would love to get an intro into your life, how you came to be. I've listened to a couple of your podcasts. You offer great information for people who pretty much are in the dark. So please take us back from the beginning. If you'd like to introduce yourself, go ahead.
Okay, well, my name is Marcus, and I was born in Harlem, and I was raised in the Bronx. And when I was about 6 or 7 years old, there was a movie called Richie Rich. And if you're not familiar with Richie Rich, he was the star actor in Home Alone.
The kid.
Yeah.
Okay.
Macaulay Culkin.
Yeah.
And he was the star actor in Richie Rich as well. And that movie was pretty much about him being born in wealth, and he had a wealthy family, but he just wanted to be a kid, and he just wanted just to have fun. And he wasn't stuck up. He wasn't a stuck-up kid. He just wanted to be around his kids, having fun. And the amazing thing that stuck out to me was his lifestyle. And he had a roller coaster in his backyard. He had a McDonald's in his crib. And at 6 years old, that just caught my attention, because I always loved things that were like in opulence or something that was just nice.
Mm-hmm.
So from that point on, that was the catalyst for me to focus on being wealthy and being rich. And that was the beginning of my journey as far as trying to figure out what I wanted to do, pretty much.
At 6 years old, thinking about money is not something most kids, are even concerned about at that age.
Right.
What was the attraction to you? What was that, seeing that movie, what about it made you say, I want a McDonald's in my backyard or a roller coaster?
It was just him having fun and having options. And honestly, I really dislike school. And my mother's a teacher, right? So that's
and you're very well educated, by the way.
Thank you. And I think me seeing him having that many options and that much fun without being so school driven, that just caught my attention. Now, don't get me wrong, school is important, but just being a kid, just seeing just the options, just going to his backyard, having a roller coaster, doing what he wanted, when he wanted, that excited me the most.
What was your childhood like growing up in Brooklyn or Harlem?
Bronx.
Sorry,
I was born in Harlem, but I was raised in the Bronx. I had a great childhood, a phenomenal childhood. Like, I really don't have a story that was extreme, tragic, extreme tragedy, extreme adversity. I had a great childhood. So there was no real struggle in that regard. I mean, I went through challenges as a kid, but other than that, there was no real hardship. So I'm grateful for that.
How did the story bring you about to be the person you are today?
Well, my mother, she put me in the modeling agency. She put me in the modeling industry since I was about 11 years old.
Oh, wow. What did you model? What did you model?
I was in Sean John, Rockaware magazines, King magazine, Source magazine.
It makes sense. You just look like the perfect specimen, bro.
Yeah, I was in it for a while. I was in magazines, music videos, the runway, BET runway, Rip the Runway, things of that nature. So I was in that industry from 11 to about 21 years old. And my mother and my parents just put me in extracurricular activities. I learned how to play piano. I played in Carnegie Hall. And my parents just kept me busy. So it gave me a chance to be exposed to a lot in life. So I got to see the differences between the echelon of how people live and the complete opposite. And I just liked people who lived on the top of the echelon. And that just attracted me. However, because of the way my parents raised me, I didn't let that define me. You get what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So I always wanted to be around kids, and Richie Rich reminded me of that. So it just resonated with me more, and that's how I was able to be grounded but still love nice things and just be wealthy. Because I never wanted to. I was always around people who didn't have much, but I never judged them. They were still my friends, but at the same time, I knew that's not what I wanted. So me being in the modeling industry gave me an opportunity just to be around all walks of life. And I just love having nice things and just living in wealth, pretty much.
You were in the modeling industry until you were
22
or 21?
About 22.
Okay,
22.
So you're out of high school,
right?
By then, are you in college? Are you pursuing college at that time?
So while I was in middle school, high school, I was in the modeling industry, and then when I graduated from high school, I was still in the modeling industry. But then I had an opportunity to intern at Atlantic Records.
Oh.
And how that happened was I did a photo shoot. There was an artist back then, you're probably not familiar with her, but her name was Sherry Dennis. And there's a YouTube clip out there. And you can see me have a photo shoot at Atlantic Records. And at the end of that photo shoot, there was a sign saying, "We're looking for interns." So long story short, I sent in my information, and probably about 2 weeks later, they called me. And that's when I started interning for Atlantic Records. Now, around this time, I took a semester off from school.
From college?
College.
Where were you going at the time?
It's a college called Dominican College.
I know Dominican. We played against them. I beat them.
In Orangeburg.
I actually scored against them.
Yeah,
that was my last goal.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
But I went to Dominican College.
Mm-hmm.
So after my freshman year in college, I took a semester off to really focus on modeling. And wherever that, took me, that's where I was going to, run with. So, that photo shoot led me to intern at Atlantic Records. That's how that happened.
How long did you intern there for?
I interned for about 3 years. So I was dormant at school.
Mm-hmm.
And then on the weekends, I would drive, intern all day, and then drive back.
This is a free, not a paid internship. For free. What were you doing at Atlantic Records?
So I was, the first department was I forget the department, but all I know is I was just excited to be there because just being in the music industry, being around a lot of celebrities, artists, that always excited me. It just did. And just being behind the scenes. Now, ironically, I was a model for about 10 years. And technically, I wasn't excited being in front of the screen like that.
Really?
And I really didn't like it. I know it's an oxymoron. Like, being around that environment was cool, but getting too much attention, I really didn't like it too much. But, I mean, if you're in front of the screen all the time, then people are going to see you. Like,
yeah.
It is what it is. And then from there, I transferred to a video department where they do music videos, and you get to see the treatment of a video. Like, you get to see how the video is going to play out.
Post-production.
Well, pre-production.
Okay.
If that's a word. And then you get to see how it's going to be put together. And then you get to see the post-production.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I used to do errand runs with, I used to get the coffee, the bagel, the typical intern story. But I used to sleep in the record label. Stay there for like 24 hours a day. I was just excited just being around that environment.
What were some of the names that you remember seeing throughout your time at Atlantic Records?
All right, so there's some known names, like, the Diddy's of the world, T.I., Day 26, a few are like Sherry Dennis, Disco, Panic Disco. And there's a few other artists that, Lil Wayne, Mano. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I got an opportunity to work with just all types of artists. It wasn't just hip hop artists.
Did that influence you to want to partake in the music making?
Great question. That I started to learn the music business behind the scenes. So the longer I stood there, I said, you know what? I can start my own music entertainment company. And that's what I did. So towards the end of my senior year, I hooked up with my mother's old co-worker at the time. She had the entrepreneur spirit, and we joined forces. And literally, I graduated, just say May 15th. The next day, May 16th, we was on the ground ripping and running. And that's how we started.
How did that come to play around?
I think because of my experience at Atlantic Records, me building a lot of relationships with people, seeing how the music industry works behind the scenes, and then she had connections with the education part. So we was trying to figure out how to join forces. So we decided to create an edutainment company. So I came from the entertainment side, and she wanted to teach people how to get involved in the music industry. So we just called it an edutainment company. And we just came up with something. It was exciting. And from there, we got involved in movie production. And then we eventually produced our first concert with Trey Songz and Fabolous in Miami. And it actually happened, too.
What?
We had no experience. None.
What?
I'd never promoted at a club. I went straight from an idea and went straight to a stadium. Well, an arena.
I had some sort of epiphany last night while I was riding motorcycles. So one of the things that I do is I create motorcycle content. And one of my goals for this this summer is I want to host multiple bike meets and have like cool artists come by, cool content creators, and there's multiple places around Connecticut to do that. So I've been like trying to get into that space, that mindset of putting something on for others. So that's pretty cool.
I mean, you could do it. You just have to, I think anything is possible, right?
Yeah.
But I think you really have to surround yourself with the right people. It's extremely important because 1% of doubt can really derail your whole vision, or it could delay your whole vision. So I think being surrounded by the right people, or you personally might be just the driving factor and attract the right people to help your vision come true. So
you created a successful
it was an edutainment company.
Edutainment.
So
company.
let me get more technical with it. Our goal was to promote green living. So instead of like using a car, we would promote using an electric car to go to a concert. It was weird. Like we was trying to like.
You were ahead of the times.
I mean, that's what we was trying to do.
Yeah.
So if you could Google it, it's called Be Seen Being Green concert, music concert. So
what year is this we're talking about here?
This was in 2010.
Yeah, like you were literally ahead of the times.
Yeah, so our goal was just to say promote green awareness living and have like green electric tour buses. So the goal was just, we was thinking so far out the box that everything didn't come into fruition, but our intention was to promote green awareness.
And fast forward 16 years later, right? 16 years later. Now everything is about to go green.
Yeah.
Literally everything. I was telling my friends that like within like 5 years, public transportation is pretty much going to be completely autonomous. Like there's really no need to have someone there.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it's crazy. So we was thinking on that type of time.
Okay, so now you've got all this experience. I'm guessing you are around 26, 28 around then.
No, at this time I'm about 22.
Yeah, but you told me you started working at as an intern around what age?
Around 20.
Around 20, and you did that for about 4 to 5 years.
My math is a little off, but I did it about 2 to 3 years. So
Okay.
around the entertainment company, I was about 23.
Okay.
Right.
And when did that stop? When did you stop working on, or I don't know if you are still doing that?
No, so, all right. So from the beginning of the entertainment company until the end, it was about a 9-month stint.
Okay.
So from having no experience to raising hundreds of thousands of dollars.
And getting Trey Songz.
And
Fabolous.
Yes, and almost getting beat up by one of these artist managers.
Who want to beat you up, man?
Because when you're dealing in the concert business, artists want to just receive cash. And at the time, I was going through a lot of hurdles trying to get the remaining amount of cash to pay Trey Songz' manager at the time. And
how much was he asking?
He was asking for 50.
In 2010, he was actually at the prime of his career.
This is when Say I was out.
He's in the prime of his career.
Fab,
yeah,
right?
He's killing it. Yeah.
So
that's reasonable.
Long story short, when you pay an artist, they ask for 50% up front, and then the day of the show they require the remaining. And the remaining, we was able to get a cashier's check, and they ain't like that because the taxes. So long story short, we almost got into it, but nonetheless, it was a successful show, and it happened. But the downside to that was, after the show happened, that's when my life changed completely. I hit rock bottom on a whole nother level. The show happened. It was a success, but investors needed their money back.
Yeah.
And ironically, if you have Fab or Trey Songz at your concert, you would think it would sell out. And it didn't. Because eternally, we just had so many misdirections, too many Indians, not enough chiefs on the staff. And we just made a lot of mistakes, a lot of, bad judgment calls. So to promote the event wasn't a success at all. So nonetheless, after the show happened, investors wanted their money back. And when you do, let me recap. When you do a concert, after you do a concert, the arena has to get their cut first.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh.
So when it was all said and done, when the arena took all their cut, you got to pay for production, light, sound, security, the whole shebang. So when they took their cut, I was left with $12,000, and I borrowed over $150. So to call people and to say, "Hey,
I ain't got it.
I don't got it." It was a tough time. I borrowed money from everybody, from family, friends, from street people, everybody. And some people understood it, some people didn't. So I had to really choose out of the $12,000, who can I pay? So out of the $12,000, I gave the street people back their money.
First and foremost,
I had to. And everybody else, I had to stretch myself thin and just spread it out. And then for the next 6 years, I had to really reinvent myself. I had to find myself again. And it took me 6 years to personally pay everybody back.
That was what I was going to ask, because as a young kid, I'm guessing you're around my age. I'm 26 at this point, and I can't imagine the stress of owing that many people, especially that amount of dollars, man.
Yeah, it was so bad that I remember one time I owed somebody $400. Right, this is one of the investors, and I was on 125th in Harlem, and I was asking people for money, and I said, "Listen." So one woman, I was able to stop her, and I said, "Listen, do you have $400? Because I really need it." And she really stopped. And I said, "Listen, this is my passport. Here's my ID. I live right here. Here's my social. Come with me. I'll show you where I live." She came to my building. I said, "Listen, I'm going to go upstairs, get something so you can hold it. So you could really believe that I'm not going to just dip up, just leave."
Yeah.
So I go upstairs. I come back. She's gone. And I just started crying. And I called my mother. It was a really bad time. It was really a devastating time, but it was a blessing at the same time.
Yeah, I was about to say, you made it through.
You're
blessing. On the other side.
It was a blessing. I had a law firm sue me. It had so many people suing me. It was crazy.
Man,
it's crazy.
Continue telling us. I'm
Crazy.
I'm so drawn in right now.
Crazy. So, mind you, remember I said investors, they needed their money back.
Mm-hmm.
One of the investors was a law firm. Okay. So when I didn't have, when me and my former business partner didn't have the money to pay them back, I had people serving me at my house. My mother's freaking out. What's going on? It was crazy. It was crazy. It was a real challenging time, but it really gave me tough skin. Really. So in this present day, if I see people going through adversity or I go through some challenges, it's like a scratch, because it really taught me resilience and to keep moving forward as you go along. And that situation changed my life forever.
What was that feeling like after 6 years paying that last dollar?
Well, you know what's crazy? Every time, now mind you, up until this point, I never had a real job. I never did.
Yeah, you did the internship and you went straight into...
My parents always, and I'm so grateful for my parents. My parents were like, listen, find out what you love to do and we'll take care of you. And I'm truly grateful for that, right? At the same time, I never really had a job. So this was the first time ever I had to really, really look for a job. And at first, pride, ego got in the way. I really didn't want to do that. And long story short, it gave me an opportunity to start working with kids. So in the beginning, I was working part-time, and I just started paying people back by myself, one by one. And miraculously, it felt good paying them back. I thought I was going to be just reluctantly paying people back. And I felt so grateful having the capability of just paying people back. So it took about 6 years. So I started the part-time job working with kids. Mm-hmm. And then I stumbled upon a full-time job working at the Boys and Girls Club as a sports director.
Nice.
So that sped that was able to speed things up to pay people back. And I felt great paying people back. It was so amazing how that worked. I thought I was going to just dread it, but it felt great paying people back. And throughout that process, I had to learn myself again. And it, turned out to be a fantastic situation for me.
How did that come with finding opportunities for people with little money? That was one of the things that I really took from your podcast. Right. Was that there are programs out there. There are opportunities for people with not having as much funds as some others. So how did that come about?
So before I got into real estate, right? Mm-hmm. I learned that before I got into real estate, I've learned that it doesn't take money to make money. I know there's a saying to that, but I've learned early on with the entertainment company, I had no money. You understand? Me and my business partner had no money, but our ideas were so powerful that it attracted the right people to give us money, right? So a lot of people, I think, get stuck on, I don't have enough money, so I'll wait. Mm-hmm. No, start. And once you build the momentum, things will come your way. So how does this relate to real estate? Well, should I tell you the story of how I got into real estate?
Oh, please tell me any story you like.
All right, so while I was at the Boys and Girls Club, I had an amazing time. It didn't feel like a job whatsoever. It felt like I was just having fun, and getting paid was just a bonus, right? But towards the end of my 6-year tenure working there, the itch of being an entrepreneur started to kick in again. So long story short, I started to dibble and dabble in, entrepreneur ideas and stuff like that. So I joined a network marketing company a few years ago. And this network marketing company was big on personal development. So every 3 months we would go to a business conference and it'll have like personal development speakers about working on yourself. And in addition to that, how can you better your business? So one day I went to an event and Robert Kiyosaki was the guest speaker. Now, are you familiar with him?
Robert
Kiyosaki.
No.
He's the author of Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
I have.
Okay.
I do know him.
Okay, cool. So he's the author of that book.
Mm-hmm.
So he came on stage and he was talking about how he was in $300 million in debt.
Yep.
And because he was in $300 million in debt, that's how he became wealthy. And it just blew my mind because I was taught that debt was bad. Don't use as much, don't use too many credit cards, don't take out many loans, just stay away from debt as much as possible. But on the flip side, he's saying go into debt. And he looked so happy when he was saying it because I'm like, damn, how the hell, why he looks so happy, but he's wealthy? He probably must know something that I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So after that day, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I bought all his books. Rich Dad, Poor Dad, The Cash Flow Quadrant, The Real Book of Real Estate. I bought all of it. And I remember on New Year's Eve, 2016, while everybody was saying Happy New Year's, drinking, having a good time, I'm in the room reading, obsessed with it, just so intrigued in it. I said, this is it right here. This is it. Because I always wanted to be wealthy without clocking in. That was always the thing for me. And the reason why is because when I was in the modeling industry, when you're in the modeling industry, you go to a lot of casting calls,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I had the opportunity to go to a casting call, go to another one, and never have to go back to work after the casting call. And I love that freedom. But I saw other people, they were like, yo, I got to go to work, go back to work. And I never liked that. I never enjoyed seeing people trying to do something that they love and then go back to work, something that they hate. But I know, that's the way of life. Sometimes you got to work, you got bills to pay, and I understand that. But as me being young in that industry, I just love having the option and the freedom just to do what I want. So real estate was the vehicle for me to say, you know what? How can I make a boatload of money, take care of my family, create wonderful experiences without clocking in? And that was the vehicle for me. So that's why it resonated with me the most. And from that point on, I invested in his, my bad, I thought you were going to say something.
No.
So after I read his books, I started doing more homework, more due diligence, more research, and I invested in his private real estate investing course. It was about $3,000. And I invested in myself, and within 3 months, I learned what I learned from that, and I was able to get my first property with little money. I didn't have to go to no bank. My credit was shot, and my money management was horrible. I had a job, but I barely had money.
Mm-hmm.
And once I was able to get my first property with little money, no bank, I didn't have to go to, the traditional bank, check, do a background check, none of that. Once I was able to get my first property from that point on, it completely changed my life drastically, mentally.
All right, for the people listening, break down what does that mean? Because people who don't have this type of information, they can't really grasp their head.
Right.
Like, how did you get property with no money?
So we're taught to get a property, you have to have a great job, great credit, and a nice size income,
Mm-hmm.
right? But on the flip side, there are ways where you can approach the seller of a home, and the seller becomes the bank, and you could just weed everybody out, and you could just deal directly with the seller. And the way you create the terms between you and the seller, that's just up to you. And once you figure out a seller that is willing to take that type of deal, you can have that property. So I was able to get a few properties literally with zero money down, and a few properties was just probably like $1,000. Literally, like I hear people on social media saying you could get a property for free, things like that. And sometimes social media can really exaggerate things, but literally from my own experience, I was able to get 2 properties with $0 and receive cash flow.
Okay, I'm still confused, right? You approach this buyer and you tell him or her what exactly?
So first of all, you have to find these properties.
Yeah.
Right? So there are a few websites, and I'm going to share it because I could share it, but
I was gonna say you pay $3,000 for this type of information, so
Yeah.
you don't feel like giving it out, or if you want to point them to your channel, more than welcome.
Yeah. So, nonetheless, there's ways where you can find people who are willing to sell a home. Now, some people can't sell a home like that because they probably don't have enough money to renovate it and then put it on the market to sell it, or they just want to start a new life. They don't want to deal with the home no more, and they just want someone to take over. So fast forward, I found somebody online, and they were selling their property for $45,000. And at this time, I'm hungry, I'm excited. I just finished learning about real estate within 3 months, and at the time, I had no car, and the first property was in Binghamton, New York.
I've been to Binghamton.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I took the bus, the Greyhound bus. It was about a 6-hour ride. I was excited. I go to his house. I tell him my story. He takes me a tour in his house. He has tenant upstairs. And he says, so what you got to offer? And mind you, at the time, I had no money, right? Now, when I say I had no money, I had like $100. You know, it was...
Yeah.
Right?
Nothing of real value.
Right. And I said, listen, I'll offer you $5,000. That's how, I was like, $5,000? And he laughed and he said, listen, this guy offered me $10,000, but he said, you know what? I like you. I'll accept your offer. You have 30 days to get it. I said, okay, cool. So I'm excited.
30 days to get 5,000. I'm excited.
Right? Now, mind you, I had a job. You understand? But my job wasn't paying me enough to get 5,000 in 30 days.
No, definitely not.
So I'm like, all right, cool. So we built a cool relationship, and on my way back down, I'm on the bus listening to Drake, just figuring out how I'm gonna get the 5,000 from like 6 hours, but I'm so hyped. My energy is flowing, and I just started trying to figure out ways to get 5,000. So from my job, I said, you know what? Okay, I'm going to get 1,000 for my job. So I had to wait 2 weeks. I took that 1,000, gave it to the seller. I said, listen, to show you that I'm serious, here's 1,000. So he said, okay, I'll take that as a deposit. But in 30 days, if you don't give me the 4,000, your $1,000 deposit will be forfeited. I said, okay, cool. Jesus. So I had another 30 days. So I'm like, cool. So people started to really realize something different was happening with me. My energy started to change. My posture started to change. My excitement was real visible. So my mother started to ask me like, yo, what's going on? Like, what you got going on? And I told her what was going on. And I didn't ask her. She said, how much do you need? I said, I need this much. So she gave me $2,500. And there was other people in my life that I didn't ask. They just saw the excitement. They gave me the other half. And that's how I was able to get the rest of the money. And 30 days later, I came with the rest of the money and gave it to the seller. Now I had a attorney involved. So let's backtrack. I got to backtrack. So so anytime you're trying to do something, whether it's in real estate or MMA or whatever the case may be, there are going to be people in your journey that might derail you or create doubt. And I say that to say, when I first got that property and before I was able to close on that property, I created a contract and I brought it to the first lawyer. When I showed the first lawyer the type of deal that I was doing, she looked at it and she said, I never saw this deal before. You should back out of it. And most people really are very on autopilot. What I mean by that is because that person was a lawyer and because that person had a title, people will automatically believe that person and listen and just back out.
Yeah.
Right?
I would, that
right?
just sounds like the, smart
right.
thing to do.
Right. But we all get caught up in that. And sometimes, like, for example, you're a fit guy, right? You know your body. Now, if someone was to say, well, you shouldn't do that, I don't think you would listen.
No.
You would take it with a grain of salt.
funny enough, I've encountered that many times in my life.
Right. You see?
Many times.
Right.
Yeah.
So I say that because that lawyer really, it shocked me, kind of bothered me, because I'm like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be able to do this. I don't know. But I knew in my heart what I learned from people who were doing it, who were millionaires doing this. I'm like, if they're telling me how to do it and she's never seen it, why am I listening to you?
Right? It's like, stop taking advice from people who are not doing what you're trying to do.
That's it.
Literally.
Right? And mind you, she was a real estate lawyer. That's the thing.
So she kind of is doing what?
So it was kind of a conundrum, because I'm like, yo, she's a real estate lawyer. At the same time, I'm literally listening to millionaires telling me how to do it. On the flip side, she's saying don't do it. So what propelled me to move forward was Robert Kiyosaki's wife at the time. Her name is Kim Kiyosaki. Her situation was very similar to mine. She found a deal and she brought it to a lawyer, and he was like, you shouldn't do this deal. You're stupid. You should back out of it. And she didn't let that deter her. So she fired that lawyer and hired another one. So her story, I remember her story in the midst of me going through that, and I fired that lawyer and found another lawyer. It said, and that second lawyer said, oh, I see deals like this all the time. I'll do it.
Wow.
So
just look at that.
Right? So that showed me that you have to be very careful who you listen to, no matter the title.
Yeah.
Right? Now, if you respect them as a person and respect their opinion, then that's a different subject. But in the meantime, majority of people along your journey, they really don't know what they're talking about, or they just stop learning. They might have been that person in their heyday, but if you stop learning, then you're already dead at that point. So when I went to the second lawyer, I closed the deal, and that changed my life. And that was the beginning of other challenges.
It never stops.
It never stops.
It never stops. You just grow stronger,
right,
and build better calluses.
Right. So, after I got the property, things started to roll. But at this time, it became an ego thing, because I wanted to show people, oh, look, I got a property. Look at this shiny object. Mm-hmm. And yes, I did get the property, but the underlying purpose of getting it is to achieve financial freedom. And I kind of lost that message for the first few months of getting that property, because when I first got the property, I didn't really do my homework. I didn't screen a tenant, because when you get a tenant to live in your property, you got to screen a tenant. You got to do background checks. I didn't do that. And the reason why is because I'm like, she has Section 8, that's automatic money, guaranteed money. And my ego was just woof, woof. And I ignored all the red flags.
I remember you speaking about that in your recent episode.
I ignored the red flags, man. So I'm hyped. I got, mind you, when I got the property, the seller, he goes to Vegas. He's married, has a new life. So when he left, there was tenants upstairs already. So I already had that squared away. When I got the second tenant on the first floor, she had Section 8. I didn't screen the tenant, and I thought I was good. I swear, man, let's say she came in on Monday. On Friday, the problem started to happen. Man, it was so many problems. I ran into so many problems with that tenant, but I'm thankful for her as well, because she taught me so much.
Lessons. So
many lessons. And I think she knew, like, oh, you a young buck. I'm gonna take advantage of you. And she was just, I allowed her in hindsight take advantage. And anything that she did, I jumped. Anything that was so extreme, I just did. For example, I remember I'm in my house sleeping, and I get a call 4 a.m. And she said, Mr. Marcus, the light bulb went out. I'm like, okay. Go to the store and get a light bulb. She says, no, if you don't get it, I'm going to stop paying the rent, this and that. And I'm scared.
Yeah.
That morning, I drive 4 hours.
I was about to say, you're...
Bro, listen, I drive 4 hours, go to Home Depot, get the light bulb, go to the house, screw the light bulb in. I get no thank you. Okay, Marcus. And I was expecting to thank you. Nothing. And that frustrated me a lot, because that's when I thought about quitting. Because I in the beginning, I had this notion of as soon as you get a property, it's passive income. And that's not true. And a lot of people on social media show or tell people real estate is automatically passive, and it's further from the truth, right? There's
so many problems that come with owning a home. And the reason why I'm saying that is because I think 6 years has been since we've actually moved from an apartment to an actual like home. And we too had to learn many lessons, and a lot of problems did arrive. Because we're up in the valley. Our house is on a hill. Okay. So many things we didn't know about, like flooding and heat, oil.
Radon. You know what radon is?
No, please tell me what that is.
So, all right. So, first of all, there's a difference between being a landlord and an investor. Two completely different things. Okay. When I first came into this real estate game, I just wanted to be an investor. Meaning, it's when you become an investor, you literally are receiving passive income. Meaning 95% of the time, you're not dealing with the tenants, you're not dealing with anything. But 5% of the time, you want to check on the business, check with the property management, make sure everything's running smoothly. Only 5%. Mm-hmm. That was my goal with the first property. I was wrong about that. I was a landlord for 8 months. And a landlord is when you are physically, personally doing the work to make sure that the property is not, the property is safe for a tenant to live in. You're fixing all the repairs. You're doing all the snow shoveling. You're cutting the grass. Anything that needs to be fixed, you're doing it, or you got to hire somebody. It's a full-time job. Yeah. Right? So it was so many situations where the tenant would be like, yo, listen, you got to fix this. You got to do this, or I'm not paying no rent or whatever. So one day she said, Mr. Marcus, if I smoke a cigarette in the basement, it's going to blow up. I'm like, why? She said, because it's radon. And I'm like, oh, yeah, radon. I had no idea what that was. So I said, oh, radon? I had to look it up. Like, oh, wow, radon. Okay. I'm like, oh, all right. All
so what is radon?
So radon is a natural gas that comes from the cement. And it's a natural gas that comes out from underground, under the cement. And if you don't have a vent that's coming from the basement for that gas to come out, all the gas could be sucked in. And if someone smokes a cigarette, the house could blow up.
Learn something new.
I had no idea. It's a natural. I had no idea. So this was lesson 55 that I learned about dealing with homes, because I always lived in an apartment.
Yeah.
So you really have
things,
it's two different animals.
Different things. Yeah.
So I had to learn that. Then I had to learn it costs this, it costs that, and it was just so much money coming out of my pocket as a landlord that I said, yo, this is not passive income. This is not what I thought real estate was. And I thought about quitting several times because it felt like I was working another job.
Yeah, which is what you were trying to escape from.
Exactly. So then, now mind you, I learned from Robert Kiyosaki that when you first get started, self-manage your property for about 2-3 months. Get familiar with just dealing with tenants, dealing with repairs, dealing with just the lingo of just talking to contractors, because contractors can be slick. They can overprice things. So you get to know, you get to learn how to navigate. Now, you will still make mistakes, but not as much if you self-manage for a few months. Yeah. I did it for 8 months because I was trying to be greedy. And what I mean by that is even though I had a property, I still had a poverty mindset, meaning I was trying to keep all the money instead of building a team, right? And this is where the property management team came into play. So after 8 months, I said, I can't keep on doing this. So I hired a property management team, and they took over 95% of my issues. And that allowed me to free up my time and focus on getting more properties. And that's when I understood that real estate is a team sport. Because right at that time, I was just doing everything by myself.
Yeah, and especially the fact that your property is 4 hours away from where you are, which makes things 100 times more difficult, right?
Yo, listen. Now Binghamton, you already know when it snows, it's bad.
Yeah.
Next level. So when it snowed, I had to drive up there. Took me 6 hours just to shovel a small driveway by myself. Yeah. And it was daunting, man. So once I hired that property management company, they deal with all of that. And that's when I started to build a team. And once you build a team, then you have the time, freedom to do what you want. And that's when I understood the true value. That's when I knew the true meaning of wealthy. When you could buy back your time.
Yeah. Out of everything that I've gone through from school, childhood, teens, my biggest thing is like, what is my goal? What is my goal? When people ask me, what is my goal? My goal is my time. Yes. I realized I started thinking about everything, which, like, what is a job? A job is me giving my time to someone to complete a thought that they had.
Yeah.
And once I started realizing that, I was like, I don't want to give my time to other people. I rather invest in myself, figure out what I like, what I want to do. Right. And I'm in the process of like deciding what I want to do with my life. Whether do I want to give my time to someone else or something else for exchange of funds, or I could really double down on myself, use my time to make myself more valuable. And like you were saying, that step to really, it's like jumping off a cliff. I feel like
it's straight faith.
It's like
1,000.
I'm looking at my, like, the path that my life could take. I'm like, damn, bro. Like, I can go this way, get the job, and work the 60 hours a week and make a killing in the money, you know?
Correct.
I have an opportunity to get this job, maybe make $100K in my first year. Great, amazing. But time-wise, will I be happy? Will I be content with how I'm using my time? I don't think I would. And that's the challenge that I'm like, I don't know, Cam. Do we take this leap of faith or do we play it safe for a little bit longer? Yeah. But I don't know, man. And I'm so glad to hear your story because it seems like a theme in your life journey where you get to these points where it's like, damn, I could try to play it safe or I could take that leap of faith. You know?
I'll say this. If I had an opportunity and I had an advantage. My father, he passed down his apartment to me, and the rent was $600 in a huge 2-bedroom apartment in the Bronx. To find a $600 apartment in the city in general, you got to be grandfathered in.
Yeah.
So I had an unfair advantage, meaning that it may seem unfair to other people, but it was an advantage for me. So it helped me to make so many mistakes that it helped me to recover quickly because of the opportunity my father gave me. You understand? Mm-hmm. So I say that to say whatever opportunities you have, whether you're living with your parents or not, take full advantage to the max. Now, other people might say, oh, you're living with your parents, so of course, no duh, like that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
So I say that to say take full advantage where other people see them unfair. That's their problem, it's not yours. And I think within that journey, when you're trying to figure it out, you have an advantage, right? There's other people who probably live in Section 8 or welfare, and the cool thing about that is you have an advantage to make as many mistakes as you can and recover, because the state is helping you out in the meantime. Figure it out. Figure out what avenues work for you. And once you figure it out, don't let it be like a resting place, because it's easy to get comfortable.
Yeah.
Right? It is. But use that as your advantage. And once you figure it out, take a full swing. And at the same time, a lot of people might say, well, he or she's in Section 8. Of course, like everybody has an unfair advantage, no matter how you slice it and dice it.
Yeah.
Like even if you're born in wealth, some people born in wealth might not have grit. They might not have resilience. They might not have a certain grace about them, etiquette, because they're born into it. They don't understand there's certain things that you need to develop. So everybody has an unfair advantage. So it comes back to say, if you're thinking about it, think about the advantages that you have that other people might hate on, quote unquote, but it works for you.
Yeah.
So that's how I see it.
Yeah, that it's kind of what you do with the hand you're dealt with.
Yeah.
But you can't choose the hand, but you could play it strategically.
Correct.
Yeah.
1000%, right? So like there's libraries, right? Let's say you don't have a computer. Go to the library. It's for free.
Yeah.
Only 3% of the population have a library card. 3.
Just crazy.
For free.
And the amount of knowledge you can find in the library is endless.
For free, right? So I think it depends on, the cards that you dealt with, and take full advantage of what you got, and just learn how to pivot, navigate, and go from there. But yeah. So damn, I was gonna say something too. I forgot.
We're talking about hands you dealt with, perspective.
All right. Oh, so you're gonna edit this, right?
Yeah,
Okay, cool.
you're good, man. Who cares?
Cool. So after the first property, right? Things just started to roll for me, and I made them a lot. I still make mistakes to this day, but I really have no fear. Literally, I don't. I really don't.
It's amazing to hear.
But the reason why is because I surrounded myself with people to help me eliminate that. You got to get around people that say, "Oh, what? No problem. You got that? No problem. That's not a problem." And the more I got around people like that, I found that within myself, because it's always there. It's just dormant.
Yeah.
And if you're not around the right people, you probably can't find it, or it might take you longer. And
I'm huge on mentorship.
It's huge.
Mentorship.
It's huge.
And that was one of the reasons why I even started the podcasting, because
Right.
I have always, out of my circle of friends, always taken myself from my regular environment and put myself in many different places with many different people. And from those opportunities, I got to learn so much. And to the people who are scared to pretty much try something new, go somewhere new, meet someone new, this is why I wanted to create this podcast, to let them know that these opportunities are out there, man.
That's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
Literally, like, you have to...
Like, there's help. There's people who are willing to help, and it's there. You just have to go look for it.
It's unbelievable. You'll be surprised how many people are willing to help you if you just ask.
Yeah.
And I know, as simple as that may seem, majority of people just don't ask.
Closed mouth don't get fed,
it
bro.
It really is like that. Now, I understand. Now, let me say this. I do sometimes fall back into there's a little girl voice. Or can I curse on this?
Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
There's that little bitch voice in your head that says, "Oh, you can't do it," and shit like that. It comes once in a blue, and everybody experiences that. So I'm not saying I don't experience that, but you have to. So what I do is sometimes when that little bitch voice comes in my head, I might do something extreme. What I mean by that is I might look for a property that might, at the time, might seem out my range and put in an offer just to shake it out.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Now,
I do.
I'm not recommending people to do that, but you might have to do something like with your workout. It might be a particular workout that you just having a challenging time with, but you might have to pivot and go ape shit on something just to get your momentum flowing.
Yeah.
That's the best metaphor I could give you. But You get what I'm saying?
I do. I 100% do.
Right?
For fighting, it's like there's many times where, like, if I'm going to spar at FAA, it's just a gym in Milford, and they have nothing but killers out there, like pro fighters, and I'm scared. There's that bitch voice inside of me, you know. Even throughout my entire fighting career so far, or my fighting journey, again, this has only been a year since I've started training. I've fought 4 times, and that bitch voice that you speak of, where I always felt like I didn't belong for some reason. And it was just like, no, you do. Everybody starts without knowing, and they have to go through this. You have to get your ass whooped. You have to fuck up. And even, believe it or not, like, my first loss last weekend, I lost a title, and all my friends were there. My family members were there. It was the first time that I felt worthy, and I lost, which is crazy, because I'm so hard on myself. I critique myself. Like, anybody that knows me, anything that has to do with my art, I am the most. I'm really hard on myself. So a lot of people, or a lot of my friends, thought I would be so devastated after the loss. Oh my God, Kimrock didn't win. He's always want to win. He's he's very competitive. And for the first time, I was like, no, like, I'm actually proud. I went in there. A year ago, I didn't even think that I would be able to fight. Like, fast forward, I just fought for a title in front of all my friends and my family. And even though I didn't win, but I took that risk, and I took that, that jump. I made that jump.
You made that faith.
I made that faith. And I don't care what happens. That within itself is a win for me.
And the beautiful thing is, moving forward, you have the eyes now that you can see.
Yes.
You already know.
Oh, yeah. I know where I need to go, and I know what I need to do, and I know the level that I need to do it at. And I kind of feel like this is the same thing for you. After you realize that you need a team, you're like, all right, well, I got my team. I could make it bigger, or I could make it better. Right. And I could implement this, make things run smoother, and that's the learning and growing process of it, man.
It's a beautiful process.
It's a beautiful thing.
So, to piggyback on what you were saying, so after the first property, I said, oh, now I could do this. Now I got it, right? So the more I started to get more property, and so now, mind you, now when my first experience with Binghamton, I've learned that New York is not landlord friendly at all. At all. Not Connecticut. I love Connecticut, but they're not landlord friendly. They're tenant friendly, meaning that the laws are more in favor of the tenant. And you could probably miss rent for X amount of years and you still have a place to live.
What?
Because they're tenant friendly. But once you go to other states like Illinois, Delaware, Ohio, PA, those are states that I'm in, they're more landlord friendly. So I started to spread my wings out there. And people say, well, how do you able to get properties out there but you in New York? A team, property management.
Have the team, man. Right? The right team.
So then I said, okay, the more I'm getting good at this, I need to write a book. And it's interesting because I had friends with me that saw me in this process getting the first property, right? And they still had questions like I wasn't here. That bothered me. I'm like, bro, I'm
doing it. I'm living proof.
And they would ask other people questions that I had the answer to. And I'm like, yo, nah, it's this and that and this and that. And I had all this information bottled up. So one day, I think when you're bored sometimes, that's when the magic happens too. Because I was bored one day and I just started typing. Literally. Open up, put in a word, and I started typing everything that was within me. And I'm gonna say 80 pages later, I looked, and mind you, single space. And I'm like, oh shit, I have a book. And that's when I started to write the book.
That's amazing.
Right? And that's when I started to write the book. And I said, listen, I have to, at this time, I'm not working at the Boys and Girls Club no more. So I'm like, you know what? I have to, the stuff that I'm learning in the real world, in this financial space, real estate space, I have to teach the youth about this because they have no idea what's going on. They're not teaching in the school at all. So I said, okay. So while I'm writing the book, I start randomly going to after school programs, nonprofits, and say, hey, listen, I do real estate. I know how to teach financial literacy at a 5th grade level. Let me speak. Literally. And people started to hear me out. And in the beginning, I started working for free. I started doing that for free. Started speaking for free, doing workshops, getting board games, teaching about financial literacy, real estate. And then one day a woman said, yo, you doing this for free? Why you not getting paid for it? And I was like, that little bitch voice. I don't know, I want to save the community, right? and don't get me wrong. It's cool to do things for people. Sometimes people can't afford it. At the same time, if you're good at it, you put the time in and invest in yourself.
You're worth.
You got to get paid for that, right? And it's a noble thought to, I would like to do this for the community for free and all that. Yo, listen, we've been put on this earth to fulfill our purpose and mission and enjoy the fruits of our labor. And the tool is money. That's it. And you can't really do nothing with money.
Without money.
Without money.
Yeah.
Right? You can't do anything without money. And people skip that part. They want to, I call it spiritual bypass. When people just study the spiritual work and ignore the physical body and this physical plane that we're on.
Yeah.
They just skip it. And you have to realize that money can help people's lives. Period. It helps you buy the best foods, get into best dope extracurricular activities, experience amazing things because of money. So I think we ignore the money part and just want to work on the spiritual part. And I at one point in my life, for a short period of time, I just wanted to study the spiritual, and be by myself and thinking I was making progress. You really don't make progress until you get around people to figure out what you studied work. Yeah. Right? And I tried to do that so many times, and I realized you just can't do that. We all need each other. You're in a reflection of me and vice versa. The only way we'll know how you invest in yourself work if you interact with people, right? If people piss you off, you'll really know if you really worked on yourself, right? You'll really know. Would you respond to that stupid shit, or would you just
stay calm and collective?
And then it could really roll off your back. It really doesn't bother you. And sometimes that person may be going through some things, and it's not your problem. It's just probably theirs. And you got to learn how to navigate that. But nonetheless, I started going to after school programs, and that my name started to spread around, and as people started to ask for me, and now what I do is I go to after school programs and nonprofit organizations, and I do weekly public speaking workshops, and I just teach about financial literacy. And from that experience, I met one kid. He was about 18 at the time. First time I ever meeting him. First time. Told him what I did, whatever the case may be. We exchanged numbers. And I told him about my coaching. And he thought, at first he thought I was a scam. Right? He was very hesitant. And I think 2 months later, he signed up. And then within 3 months, he got his first property with little money. No bank, no nothing. And I said, okay, I got something here. And I'm going to have him come to the studio Sunday and give his story.
Oh, amazing. How awesome is that?
Right. And from there, he's the perfect testimony that, what I'm doing and what I'm teaching is working. And I get more fulfilled teaching people to do it than I do.
Doing the actual act yourself.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's not weird at all. It's
you're right.
There's some sort of gratitude feeling that comes from passing down knowledge.
Yeah.
And again, I've coached soccer ever since I was like 14. Right. I was really, really, really good, and even I was teaching kids my age because I never played with kids my age. I always played with the older kids or whatever. So yeah, I've been teaching for a very long time, and even learning this new sport, martial arts. and now I'm the one that helps the new kids and at the gym, and there's some sort of like feeling you get when you see them coming from brand new, not knowing anything, to using the information you give them, and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, look at growth.
Yeah,
something
it's
about
amazing.
growth
it's
is amazing to watch, man.
It's an amazing feeling. And it's interesting because when I first started teaching kids about real estate, financial literacy, I'm like, I know it all. They can't teach me nothing. Total opposite. Total opposite. They teach me so much, and I feel so fulfilled.
Yeah.
That it just keeps me going. It keeps me going and keeps me going, and I have fun doing it.
They say teaching actually makes you better at the thing that you're doing, because you have to learn to think about it differently to relay that information. You
beautifully said. Yeah. And it's interesting because some kids, when I teach, they don't get it. So I said, listen, if you don't get it, tell me so I could get better explaining it. And the more I kept on telling kids that, that's why I named my book, If a Fifth Grader Can Do It, You Can Too. Real Estate Investing Made Simple. Because I had to make it simple. Because I've learned being around the real estate circle, I've learned a lot of people like to use mumbo jumbo words. It sounds so sophisticated. And I say, well, what does that mean? And they can't explain it to me in a fifth grade way. Yeah. Because I'm like, listen, man.
That's when they don't really know the information correctly.
Right. So they might be great at what they do for themselves. But if you want to teach somebody, break it down to a fifth grade language that everybody can understand it. Yeah. So that's why I named my book, If a Fifth Grader Could Do It, You Can Too. Because if they can do it and it's simply broken down like that, then it's easy for them to pass the message down. So that's why I came up with the title of the book.
Before we wrap this up, where can people find this book, and where can people find your channel and your information?
Well, my website is ascensionmgnt.com. That's ASCENSION MGNT.com. And you can find the book there, the physical. I mean, you can order the book there for the physical copy, the ebook, and it's coaching as well. Whoever's interested in being coaching. I'm not trying to sell that, because at the same time, all the information is in the book. But if you need like someone to really guide you and go with you from step to step, that's where the coaching gets involved. And I literally go to you to that state wherever you find that property, and it's a full-blown experience. So I just don't, and whatever property you find, that's yours. I don't get no percentage.
No, that's amazing.
Like, I really want to teach you how to get your own property, and then go. And if you want to call me after, call me, because now I want to work with people who I like hanging out with, right? Yeah. And there's no strings attached, right? Like, once you get the property, get more. If you need to call me, call me. I'll give you some resources, some networking people to just build relationships with, and you're on your own. So the goal is to really help you build within yourself and just create your own lane. And that's pretty much it. But as far as social media, you can follow me on TikTok, The Ascension Team on TikTok, and on Instagram is The Ascension Team 1. And you can find me on social media or contact me on my website. And it's your boy Marcus.
Marcus, thank you so much for an amazing podcast, man. I am definitely buying your book, because I've listened to some of the podcasts, but like I need to sit down and actually read the information, because if a fifth grader could do it, so can I, baby.
Appreciate that, man.
That was awesome. That was great.
Thank you. You guys did a great job. I was so engaged.
We definitely